"I am the sinner who killed mother." These were the first words he learned. The 5-year-old boy wept as he wrote his confession. Imprisoned since birth, he endured brainwashing and constant verbal abuse. Everyone called him the devil's child, yet he clung to hope. He had dreamt 4 peculiar dreams, though he didn't understand it yet. These were the stirrings of demonic power. He implicitly believed everything in his dreams, learning of his origins and his future. His mother was God's 9th daughter. Her family had gained immense wealth and power because of it. But one day, his mother returned, pregnant. She never revealed the father's identity. Yet the moment the baby was born, his black hair revealed everything. It was a trait unique to demons. His mother died soon after. The family's prosperity ended with her. His aunt and uncle poured all their resentment onto him. In a lightless attic, his only companion was the tombstone before him. Now his sole task was to practice his pronunciation, preparing for his escape. "I will poison them. The murderer is Count Ephraim. Give me the child support money." The 5-year-old still struggled with pronunciation. His stomach growled with hunger. He huddled in the corner, miserable, drifting back into that nightmare. He was out of the small room now, dressed in a beautiful dress. His black hair was hidden beneath a wig. His aunt took him to a celebration in the royal city, constantly urging him to offer a drink to the handsome, red-haired boy. He was Bel, the 2nd son of the demon family. Terrified of being sent back to the small room, he obeyed his aunt. He watched as the gentle boy drank, then vomited blood and collapsed. He had become a murderer, and the demon family, seeking revenge, unleashed a devastating war. It raged until his family was destroyed. Then he saw a man. Was it his demon father? The 5-year-old believed everything in his dreams. Years of brainwashing had convinced him he was the demon who killed his mother. So he accepted his imprisonment in the small room, enduring his aunt's insults and his uncle's beatings, until he had those 4 dreams. He learned of his origins and his future. His demon father was so gentle and caring. He gave him the will to live. For that warm embrace, he would endure until that day. Then, one morning, his uncle and aunt opened the door. He was told he could leave. He couldn't contain his joy. But when he saw what lay before him, it was exactly like his dream. He silently vowed not to be used again, and he would prevent the boy's death by poisoned drink. He had to escape now. He had done it in his dream. Even if it meant becoming a jewelry store clerk, leaving offered more possibilities. He needed to provoke the maids, make them hate him. When they dragged him to the laundry room to torment him, the dog there would be his only chance. The maid approached, carrying food, a cruel smirk on her face, looking at the putrid food on the plate. Maya said, "Feed it to me with your hands." She hadn't expected the 5-year-old to be so defiant. He deliberately hadn't brought any utensils, wanting to see her humiliated. Instead, she made this outrageous request. "You're the devil's child, yet you act like a little missy." At that moment, another maid urged her, "Hurry up and feed her. The count is coming." Hearing her uncle's approaching footsteps, Maya suddenly screamed and knocked over the food. Then she slapped herself hard across the face. "Uncle," she cried, "the maid said if I ate this food, I would go bald like her." This was something Maya had learned in a dream. Her uncle's greatest fear was losing his youthful looks. He trembled with rage. Everything was proceeding smoothly. Soon she would be able to leave this nightmarish place. Maya couldn't help but feel a flicker of nervousness. What would the outside world be like? She anticipated the coming bullying. It was her only chance to escape. Abused since childhood, she longed to find a father from her dreams. If she could get child support, even living in an orphanage would be better than this hellish home. Just then, the maid's shouts interrupted her thoughts. Her uncle had barely left when their retaliation began. Maya was dragged into the laundry room. As a basin of cold water was abruptly dumped over her, the maids erupted in triumphant laughter. But Maya, shivering, didn't care about their insults. Her eyes were fixed on the dog door, waiting for her opportunity. The moment her aunt appeared, she bit the maid's arm, snatched a skirt, and quickly scrambled through the opening. Without even her shoes, she ran desperately towards the distance. Following the memories from her dream, she ran towards the street. But 2 thugs took notice of her fine skirt. As the thugs gave chase, a fierce will to survive surged within her. She burst through the crowd, only to hear the neighing of a horse. Terrified, she fell to her knees. Was this the end? Squeezing her eyes shut in fear, she heard a voice. The horse instantly quieted. Her demon father had saved her. In that moment of reunion, all the tension, fear, and worry cheek poured out. Tears streaming down her face, she cried, "Please give me child support." Looking at the distraught child, Khalid decided to take her home first. Because of his absence, the celebratory banquet had been interrupted. Looking at her father's stern and handsome face, Maya instinctively felt that he was at the very top of the food chain, an intimidating presence. And Khalid, in turn, was intrigued by the child. From the moment they met, he had smelled his own scent emanating from her, and the first thing she asked for was child support. After instructing his subordinates to prepare all the necessary living supplies, he turned to leave. At that moment, Maya, on the sofa, scrambled to her feet and called out to him, "Daddy, don't go." Ignoring the tea that scalded her instep, she rushed forward and clung to his leg. "Daddy, I want to make a deal with you." She was the demon child who had killed her mother. To survive, she had endured abuse from her family and the cold stares of others, until she met her father. He was so powerful and willing to take her home. Although she longed to stay, she was prepared to leave. "Daddy, I want to make a deal with you." Before he could finish, Khalid suddenly scooped him up. Compared to the boy's proposed deal, he was more concerned about his injured foot. With the healer's incantation, Maya's foot was as good as new. He politely bowed his thanks, leaving the healer utterly astonished. Female demons held a high status. Such gratitude would be the healer's greatest honor. Left alone with his father in the room, Maya voiced his desire not to attend the party. He didn't explain why. Khalid, remembering their first encounter, when the boy had immediately brought up the subject of financial support, got straight to the point. "Is it money you want before you'll talk?" Although Maya didn't want to upset his father, he knew he would need a lot of money to live on his own in the future. Having never known love, he didn't dare hope he could stay, so he suggested a half payment up front. Maya's knowledge of the outside world came solely from his 4 dreams, so he proposed ongoing payments. Khalid readily agreed, offering the sapphire from his cufflink. Maya nodded in satisfaction and detailed his aunt's plot against Belle, explaining how she planned to trick his older brother into drinking a poison beverage. His father's sudden, grim expression instinctively frightened him. Sensing this, Khalid moved to comfort him, but Maya only grew more tense. He remembered the maid's taunts about his smell before he ran away. So he offered his only clean garment, a small dress, to his father. "Please, use this to wipe your hand." His gesture pierced Khalid's heart. Seeing his father turn away, Maya quickly sniffed himself. Having endured so much abuse, he had finally met the father from his dreams. But when he'd reached out for a comforting touch, his father had recoiled. "I smell bad. Please, wipe your hand." As the child of a demon, he should have been noble and joyful. But here he was so sensitive and ashamed. Khalid immediately gave the order to investigate his uncle's family. Meanwhile, Maya was enjoying his first warm bath. Looking at the horns on his sister's head, he realized everyone here was a demon, but they weren't monstrous. They smiled at him gently. Still, his father already had 2 children. Would he, with his different bloodline, be mistreated by his father's wife? The shadow of his aunt and uncle's cruelty made him afraid to hope he could belong here. Once the deal was done, he would have to leave. Just then, Dina gasped, "Your butterfly mark is so beautiful. You'll be a very powerful demon someday." For the first time, Maya felt the warmth of a compliment. He had clean clothes, and he was eating something he'd never seen before, cotton candy. Lying in a warm bed, he replayed the day's events. Even if he ended up alone, these memories would sustain him for the rest of his life. When Dina left, he marveled at the softness of the bed, but then he got up and slept on the floor. He couldn't allow himself to get used to such comfort, because this, ultimately, wasn't his home. Out in the courtyard, Khalid listened to the information being reported. It suddenly reminded him of a holy woman who had sought him out on the eve of the war. Bearing a child with a demon, she'd explained, didn't require intimacy. He must have stolen the essence and gotten pregnant on his own, but that woman didn't know. A holy woman dies after bearing a demon's child. So after Maya was born, she must have suffered a great deal of slander. She's only 5 years old, yet she's endured so much hardship. Her family treated her like a curse, but the demons see her as a treasure. Not only do they dress her beautifully, they even give her jewels like this diamond tree. Maya knew that even a sliver the size of her fingernail could be exchanged for a mansion and a carriage. But her father actually had this many. Back when she dreamed of working in a jewelry store, she'd only ever seen one in her entire life. Now, a whole tree of top-quality diamonds made her heart race. But in the next moment, she noticed something amiss. Were these gems purchased? Hantina explained each one. Every gem had been acquired with great difficulty, it seemed. Clearly, everyone had been deceived. Maya pointed at several gems. This one, that one, and the one at the very top. They're all completely fake. Meanwhile, Maya's escape left her uncle unable to deliver on his promises to his followers. This scheme had been 5 years in the making, yet it had crumbled at the last moment. From the moment Maya was born, the divine will have been made clear. He could neither kill her nor show her affection. All that was needed was for Maya to be at the banquet, to offer the poisoned drink to the demon, Baal. Then the war would begin. As the architect of this victory, he would gain greater power and status. But he had ruined everything. No one could replace Maya. The demon would only trust a drink offered by one of their own kind. He couldn't even keep an eye on a child. Count Ivarin was now infamous. The brand on his forehead and the mockery of others filled him with shame as he fled. He needed to get home quickly. He had to devise an escape route before the rumors spread. But then he realized with a jolt, the carriage wasn't heading home. A stranger appeared ahead and suddenly approached him. A sharp scream pierced the air. No one ever saw him again. She should have been a little princess, but she'd suffered abuse from the moment she was born. Thankfully, she awakened the Jade Dream and successfully found her handsome father. But she didn't dare hope for too much. She just wanted to get the child support and leave. However, while touring the mansion, she unexpectedly discovered the fake diamonds. Although she was only 5, she'd worked in a jewelry store in her prophetic dreams. Her jewelry appraisal skills were top-notch. Tina trusted her completely. She quickly called for the butler to make a record. Because of a child's unique perspective, Maya noticed a problem with the arrangement of the diamond bubbles. Someone had actually dared to deceive a demon. A rough estimate put the overspending at $5 billion. Fortunately, it had been discovered in time. There would be practically no losses. As the first to expose the deception, Maya would receive a $500,000 reward. So appraisal was this lucrative. She could support herself with this skill in the future. Maya, in high spirits, wanted to see the other rooms. The mansion had 666 themed rooms, and right before her was a grand door adorned with beautiful butterflies. This was her father's hall of achievements. Looking at the exquisite display cases, Maya wanted to learn about her father's past. Tina picked her up and began to explain. This is a cursed bracelet possessed by an evil spirit. This is a cursed bracelet possessed by an evil spirit. It was subdued by the Grand Duke when he was 4, and this was his plaything at age 7. Maya looked on, increasingly uneasy. The doll seemed to tremble and shift its posture. Beside it, a dark, swirling mist. Is the residue of a vampire the Grand Duke killed. Maya felt a prickle of fear. His father's hobbies were unsettling. Dina, however, seemed oblivious, because this is a trophy of a demon's proud conquest. Khalid led Maya to another part of the bridge. Above them, a gruesome collection of monster heads hung suspended. Maya quickly averted his gaze. He remembered his terrifying Uncle Ivarin. If he hadn't escaped, his own head would be mounted up there too. Then, Maya's eyes fell upon a bloodstained blade. A scream tore from his throat, and Maya blacked out, ignoring the offered bed. He had curled up on the floor. He had escaped his hellish home, yet he couldn't allow himself to be happy. A lifetime of brainwashing and abuse had left him deeply insecure. He refused toys, made no requests, and obeyed every instruction, suppressing all emotion. He didn't seem to view this place as home. Dina watched, her heart aching with worry. She reported Maya's behavior to Khalid, who, as an experienced father, recognized the severity of the situation. He needed to spend more time with Maya, offering positive reinforcement to slowly heal the boy's inner wounds. Meanwhile, in his unconscious state, Maya instinctively gripped Khalid's finger. The next morning, Maya awoke to a table laden with sweets, but a sudden puff of black smoke startled him, causing him to drop his cake. As Maya worried about having to pay for the ruined treat, Khalid leaned closer. "How did you know I was your father?" Though doubtful anyone would believe him, Maya confessed to seeing Khalid in a dream. This delighted Khalid. "You must be a dream demon, able to foresee the future through dreams and choose the best possible outcome." Remembering their first encounter and Maya's small, drenched, and pitiful appearance, Khalid gently stroked his head. "You must have been so scared all these years." This unexpected tenderness emboldened Maya to open up. Khalid held him close, listening to the boy recount his life, his escape, and his journey to find him. This vibrant, talkative child was the real Maya. "Don't suppress your emotions anymore. It will help you reach your growth spurt faster. A 5-year-old demon can typically transform into the size of a 10-year-old human. Maya was thrilled by this prospect. If he could grow up quickly, he could finally do what he needed to do. My precious daughter loves money, so I'll make the vault her playground. But Maya still wanted to leave. He feared being a burden, yet nestled in his father's arms. He couldn't help but crave this affection. Dina knocked on the door, bringing a bedtime snack of milk and sweets. Before leaving, Khalid gave Maya a crucial reminder. You must never tell anyone the content of your dreams. That is the rule a dream demon must follow. Maya marveled at his father's thoughtfulness and kindness. A moment later, his expression darkened. Although this place was nice, he still wanted to buy his own house. He thought of the gems his father had given him. He wondered how much they were worth. Just then, he noticed the marshmallows on the table. He couldn't help but swallow, but decided to share them with his father. Meanwhile, Khalid was holding a meeting about the kindergarten. Demons were meant to be the happiest beings, free to do as they pleased. He had raised his 2 sons in freedom and happiness, and his daughter deserved no less. Make some little gold monsters for Maya, he instructed. Remember to set gems in them. Also, open an account for Maya and deposit the previous rewards. He considered how his daughter, even before reaching maturity, could already foresee 4 dreams. In the future, her abilities would surpass all previous dream demons. It was time to take her to the world tree. That tree would tell the child her future destiny and the abilities she possessed. Gods and demons alike had one chance to visit it. It was a neutral, peaceful ground. Just then, there was a knock at the meeting hall door. Maya asked if she could come in. Not wanting his precious daughter to wait, Khalid impatiently dismissed everyone. But as soon as he was face to face with his beloved daughter, his expression softened into one of paternal warmth. Maya offered him her cherished marshmallow, and at that moment, Count Ivrin's aunt finally decided to act. Despite her love for Maya, she planned to leave. Happiness had come so suddenly that she was constantly afraid of losing it. To reassure Maya, Khalid decided to reveal his true identity. But as soon as Khalid left the house, Ivrin's aunt received the news. The moment Maya saw her in the castle, past hurts and nightmares pulled her back into the abyss. Fear consumed her. She didn't even dare to resist. Thankfully, Dina's embrace brought her back to her senses. But then, a blast of holy light struck, severely injuring Dina. The servants in the house were all low-ranking demons. No one could stop Ivrin's aunt. Maya was plunged into despair. She hated her own weakness. She couldn't even escape Ivrin's aunt's grasp. But then, footsteps echoed, and a man wreathed in flames appeared before them. It was Baal, the second son of the family. His powerful aura reassured everyone. As roaring flames engulfed Ivrin's aunt, her agonized screams frightened Maya. Fortunately, her brother had no intention of killing her. Then, Baal noticed the scent of the same demonic bloodline. Maya was even cuter in person than their father had described. Seeing so many unable to restrain one woman, Baal scolded them for their uselessness, but his words grew increasingly harsh and angered Maya. They were injured protecting me. How can you blame them? Baal, having made his little sister cry on their first meeting, stammered out an explanation. But Maya remained firm, demanding he apologize to everyone. For these low-ranking demons, it was a moment of glory worthy of being etched in their family history. Their mistress had stood up for them, but when Maya suggested finding a doctor to treat their injuries, they all refused. In this place, if you fell ill and couldn't heal yourself, you simply had to wait for death. He used to be a pitiful, bullied child. Now, he's a treasured darling, cradled protectively. Not only is he doted on by his father, Khalid, but even his brother Baal, whom he's only just met, is completely captivated. To appease Maya, Baal swallows his pride and apologizes to everyone. But no sooner has he left than the dreadful news arrives. Maya has fainted. The family's only healer, however, is out trying to recoup the $5 billion in diamond losses. There's no time to worry about other matters. Maya is quickly brought back home. Looking at the feverish child, the guards attempt to use their rudimentary healing magic. But lost in unconsciousness, Maya is trapped in another hellish dream. Before him is a bustling banquet hall, but whispers emanate from shadowy corner. They're plotting to kidnap a demon to help them accomplish some nefarious deed. Hoping to glean more details, Maya cautiously edges closer. But the two figures inside notice him, just as they're about to seize him. The dreamscape abruptly shifts. Maya finds himself on a battlefield. A powerful sense of betrayal floods him, igniting a furious rage within. His brother, battered and bruised, urges him to flee. Khalid is bound by a man in white. The sheer helplessness of the scene fills Maya with despair. As the dream shatters, Maya jolts awake. What horrors await in the future? His dark thoughts are interrupted by a rumbling snore. He's never seen such a large cat. Maya's lingering fear vanishes, replaced by the comforting presence of the adorable creature. The warmth and softness of the fur lull Maya back to sleep. Meanwhile, in the main hall, Ball furiously berates the household staff. He orders them to immediately increase security. His sister will not suffer another moment of harm. Consumed by a possessive desire to win Maya's affection, Ball resolves to shower her with every kindness, convinced that she will then realize that even a boyfriend couldn't compare to her brother. But shaken by the encounter with Ivran's aunt, Maya is terrified of seeing any more humans. Even her beloved Dina is injured and needs to rest. Low-ranking demons heal quickly, but someone else will have to care for Maya for the next few days. Maya worries about being a burden. Just then, Ball comes to see her. He wants to give her a belated welcome home gift. Learning of Maya's anxieties, he promises to stay by her side, shielding her from any danger. Unable to resist the lure of jewels, Maya overcomes her fear. On their way, she asks about Bale's strength, because in her dream, he was killed by a single poison drink. She assumes he isn't very powerful. Ball doesn't take offense at her question. Instead, he explains that on the demon power rankings, their father is second, their eldest brother is 10th, and he is 37th, because male demons are naturally weaker than female demons. Their father and eldest brother are exceptions. Maya is filled with anticipation for the future. She's sure she'll be even stronger than Ball when she grows up. Then she won't have to fear her aunt and uncle anymore. They soon arrive at the jewelry store. While the glittering gems are beautiful, the designs are all rather old-fashioned. A white unicorn caught Maya's eye. Learning that it was the most expensive item in the store, Ball couldn't help but marvel at his little sister's taste. Maya seemed to have a particular talent in this area. She learned that within the unicorn was sealed the inherent power of its creator. This piqued Maya's curiosity even further. That demon must have been beautiful, she mused. I want to meet them someday, she declared. But her brother's expression darkened at her evident delight. Her brother bought her gifts. Her father gave her a diamond tree. Yet, an undercurrent of tension flowed between the two men. Both were intensely possessive, vying for the privilege of caring for Maya, ready to come to blows over it. Meanwhile, blissfully unaware of this, Maya woke up and saw her father. Overjoyed, she snuggled against him. "Papa," she cried, "I missed you so much." Khalid stiffened slightly. He had come to inform Maya that she would soon be going to the World Tree. There, she would summon her own familiar and no longer need to fear Ivran's aunt's threats. As Khalid finished speaking, brilliant wings unfurled behind him. It was his familiar spirit. Maya eagerly went to greet it, but it was a creature of another dimension. It didn't speak human languages, communicating with its master only through a mental link. Maya watched, filled with envy. If only she had such a spirit guardian, perhaps the terrifying future she saw in her dreams would change. Though she longed to tell her father about her dreams, she had to abide by the rules of a dream demon. After giving his instructions, Khalid went to find Ball. Though both were his sons, he found himself looking upon Ball with disfavor. As a death demon, Bale's inability to control his powers in his youth had consequences. All living things feared his power. Even his own brothers kept their distance. Yet, Maya would run into his arms the moment she saw him. His daughter was the most precious treasure in the world. That someone so good had been mistreated. It was time to settle the score. As roaring flames spread, screams echoed from the Earl's mansion. They had come to see for themselves how Maya had been treated. When the door to the dilapidated room was opened, the floor, covered in handwritten notes, caught Bale's attention. Scrawled across the pages, over and over, was the same sentence. "I am the demon who killed Mother." Her father soothed her to sleep. Her brother took her shopping. She had become a cherished little princess. But even though love had eased the shadows of the past, those who had inflicted the pain would still answer for their crimes. Because Maya was the demon born of a saintess, They had guessed her circumstances were difficult, but seeing the small, bare room where she had been kept, the hard floor without even a bed, the mountains of handwritten confessions, the two who loved Maya so dearly felt a pang of grief that stole their breath. Baal wanted to kill them all, but Khalid wouldn't grant them such a swift end. With a whispered curse, the mansion became a ghostly prison of endless repetition. All within would eternally atone for their sins. Elsewhere, Maya, still asleep, was surrounded by admirers. The young miss is so adorable. We must paint her portrait. As they went to prepare her bath, Maya peeked at their artwork. It was like a version of herself with a level 10 beauty filter. Maya marveled at its beauty, but then Tina opened the door. Startled, he bumped into the table. It only hurt a little, but Tina still fetched a healer. Seeing his eyes suddenly widen, Maya felt a flicker of nervousness. It wasn't anything serious, though. He was just starting to grow legs. Seeing so many people gathered at the baby's door, Khalid inquired about the reason. Upon learning that Maya had grown legs, he solemnly declared the day a family holiday. They were about to depart for the world tree, and Maya was filled with anticipation. Before leaving, she took her unicorn with her. It was her favorite gift. Seeing her brother waiting outside, Maya realized just how handsome he was. In the carriage, Baal explained the rules of the world tree. No fighting was allowed there. Otherwise, they would be banished by the branches. But at that moment, Maya's attention was completely captivated by the glowing leaves outside. To keep the treasures to themselves, her father and brother engaged in a playful rivalry. But try as they might, they didn't realize the blonde-haired youth had already gotten a head start. From the moment Maya saw the unicorn, the intersection of their destinies was sealed, and the two, completely oblivious, were discussing the rules of the world tree. Then, noticing the shimmering leaves outside, Maya had a new idea. If she collected them and made bookmarks or dress decorations, she could probably sell them for a lot of money. Baal laughed. Their family was already wealthy. Why was his 5-year-old sister still thinking about earning money? But their father was very supportive and encouraging. Maya's sharp mind for money might make her a business genius someday. Soon, they were greeted by the people of the neutral zone. But Maya was distracted by a young man standing off to the side. Why wasn't he speaking? Could no one else see him? The young man simply smiled and offered a piece of Ascension jewelry. It was time for Maya to commune with the world tree. But as she stepped forward, she was shoved aside. The Lon family were devout followers of their god and held a deep animosity towards demons. He was late and had to stand behind Maya, so he took his anger out on her. Her brother and father wanted to reprimand him, but Maya stopped them. There was no fighting allowed here, but a little quarrel between children should be fine. She stepped forward and demanded an apology, but the boy just acted petulant and yelled. Maya decided to teach him a small lesson, but seeing their child hurt, his parents rushed forward to scold Maya. Khalid, who had been holding back, released his deathly demonic aura. Recognizing him as a great demon, the boy's father quickly apologized for his son, but Maya noticed the boy's mother. Leaving her father's arms, she went to comfort the boy. Although Maya had never experienced a mother's love, she didn't want to see another's mother upset. From their first meeting, he couldn't take his eyes off her. But fate is a cruel mistress. He was destined to die for her. Compared to the brooding boy, Maya's eyes were full of anticipation. Soon, after speaking with the world tree, she would have her own followers. As her small hand touched the ancient bark, a voice echoed in her mind. Demon born on the day of bewilderment, you are such a gentle and lovely child. I eagerly await to see what your dream will be. When Maya opened her eyes again, she found herself in a dreamscape, a familiar, its power akin to a demon's. She wondered what it would be like. A sweet child, dreaming happy dreams alongside her. Come, Maya whispered in her heart over and over. Come to me. Come find me. Then, a sensation of soft fur beneath her, and she was on horseback. Having arrived from another dimension, the familiar needed a name to bind it to its master. In that urgent moment, the only name Maya could think of was Marshmallow. From now on, you're my marshmallow, she declared. Let's live a sweet life together. It wasn't until Maya summoned the unicorn before her father, Khalid, that she finally saw it in its entirety. A rainbow of vibrant plumage, beautiful and dreamlike. It was said that from the moment of its creation, it had been waiting to meet its one true master. This feeling of connection, of mutual dependence, filled Maya with happiness and a sense of security. Yet, a small regret lingered in her heart today, because only those with blonde hair, like her brother Ball, could truly see the unicorn. A pang of sorrow and loss always pricked at her. To celebrate Maya receiving her familiar, the family decided to have a grand dinner out. Khalid recalled the day Ball summoned his own familiar, a small dragon. He wanted to give Maya a gift as well, but she surprised him with a request to begin her studies. She wanted to become a valuable demon, capable of earning her own diamonds and gold. Despite being the cherished center of their world, Maya dared not relax. Even nestled within her father's loving embrace, she still worried about being overshadowed. So she resolved to improve herself, to acquire knowledge first, and then build her own power. The gems and gold she loved most would feel more secure if earned by her own hand. Seeing his little one's determination, Khalid decided to hire the best tutor for her. Now with her familiar by her side, Maya wanted to be with Marshmallow every moment. If only she could cuddle it while she slept. Seeing Maya's desire to stay on the floor with her familiar, Marshmallow quickly devised a clever solution. With a shimmer, the unicorn transformed into a small plush toy. This way, they could chat and snuggle all night long. Formal lessons began the next day. The moment Maya saw her tutor, she was awestruck by the beautiful female demon. And upon seeing such a sweet child, Lillian felt even more sympathy for Maya's past hardships. From now on, she declared, I will teach you well, Maya, how to become a powerful demon. First, let's start with insults. A noble demon must always be cutting. Lillian handed Maya a piece of paper. Written on it were the words, holy, kind, considerate, can't even raise a child properly. These are all highly insulting terms for a demon, Lillian explained, especially the last one, which applies to all races. Raising children is the duty of every male demon. Because of that, troublesome child Ball, Khalid, is rated poorly in parenting every year. Next came the words of praise, asterisk noble, greedy, wicked, cunning, selfish, heartless, asterisk these, Lillian said, gently stroking Maya's head, are the virtues every high-ranking demon should possess. Be a bad demon, Maya. There's no need for kindness, no need to yield. You deserve the best of everything. Don't let anyone take what belongs to you. Maya recalled the days of being bullied, when, small and weak, she had been forced to endure everything. But she had never resigned herself to such a life. She had her own dreams and her own vengeance. Living at the mercy of others, she had learned the importance of power. If she hadn't met her father, she would still be struggling just to survive. Even though he was only 5 years old, the young boy held firm to his dream of becoming the richest person in the world. His earnest and adorable demeanor made Lillian, his tutor, chuckle. He truly is the child of a demon family, she mused. Just imagine if the Empress owned all this. She gestured to the vast expanse around them. All this territory would belong to him. Adoration shone in the boy's eyes. Given the chance, he too wanted to be as powerful as the Empress. Lillian, sensing his yearning, gave a knowing smile. Perhaps, she said, this is the very essence of what it takes to be a ruler. At that moment, Khalid, the boy's father, interrupted them. He didn't want his precious Maya spending too much time with others. Besides, he had a special surprise prepared, a playground he'd meticulously designed. He couldn't wait to show it to her. When the door opened, the room shimmered with a dazzling display of gold coins. Then, Khalid produced small, pure gold monsters for Maya to toss and play with. Although the figures were a bit frightening in appearance, Maya couldn't bear to damage them. Upon learning that the entire room full of gold coins was hers, a child support payment, Maya's eyes lit up with excitement. This money, she realized, could be her starting capital. It could help her become an entrepreneur even faster. She would earn even more money, enough to fill the entire room. She would become the richest demon of all. A few days later, Maya strolled through the castle gardens. Her newfound happiness made every day a joy. But the sudden appearance of the head butler, emerging from the bushes, presented Maya with a new challenge. Khalid, it seemed, had become completely enamored with his daughter. His love for Maya surpassed all else. He neglected important documents, preferring to plan celebrations for Maya. At this rate, the entire family's affairs would fall into disarray. But faced with this plea, Maya, as a future business genius, had to consider maximizing her profits. If I help you, she inquired, what will you give me in return? Ball, her brother, was utterly devoted to her, and Khalid, her father, was completely wrapped around her little finger. But with a single sentence, Maya managed to deter both of them from their constant doting. The butler's offer was simply too tempting. He had proposed a contract with Maya, 800 different kinds of marshmallows in exchange for her assistance. So, she took it upon herself to oversee her father and brother's work, urging them to clear the backlog of documents. That evening at dinner, Maya took the initiative. "I've decided to award a prize to the demon who works the hardest," she announced. With that, she called Tina over and kissed her lightly on the cheek. Maya had seen human girls express affection this way in a dream. She wasn't sure if it would work on demons, but her father and brother's sullen expressions, and the sound of what seemed like hearts breaking, filled Maya with a sudden panic. She quickly explained that it was because Tina had done such a good job, but Ball remained disgruntled. He and Khalid had done several times more work than Tina. It wasn't fair. Seeing their jealousy, Maya devised a better plan. "From now on," she declared, "whoever does the most work gets 2 kisses." After a brief silence, the two glared at each other. Then, they both stood and left the table. It was childish, perhaps, but it seemed effective. Soon, all the aides were working overtime. Khalid, too, declined all social engagements, working tirelessly on his paperwork. In just 8 hours, he'd finished half of it. The butler couldn't help but marvel. Maya, it seemed, truly was the most powerful demon. A few days later, Maya, leisurely enjoying her sweets, received an invitation from her father. And before they left, Tina suddenly realized that Maya had grown taller. Her dress was now much too short. She would likely enter her growth spurt soon. Maya was quite looking forward to it. But for now, she had to properly inspect her father's work. Her father doted on her. She was the apple of his eye. Her brother Ball only doted on her as well. But the darling girl used 2 kisses, sparking a playful competition between them. Her playful brother started looking at documents, while her father, who just wanted to cling to her, dealt with official business. Now, Khalid, having finished his work first, was looking forward to his reward with anticipation. Maya, surrounded by everyone, was a little shy, but still gave her father 2 kisses as promised, one on the left cheek, one on the right. The aides, who didn't have daughters of their own, were filled with envy. Looking at the starstruck man, Maya stepped forward and asked, "Do you think Maya is cute, uncle?" Who could resist such a cute child's charm? Overcome with emotion, he fainted. Khalid ordered someone to carry him away. Turning back, he didn't forget to tell Maya, "Don't mind those ugly uncles." At that moment, Ball suddenly appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. Having learned that Maya was in their father's office, he had rushed over immediately, but he had still lost the race. Unable to receive a kiss from his sister, he wailed in despair. Soon, it was time for Maya's lesson. Today, she would learn how to use her dream abilities. She was full of anticipation. She watched as her tutor, Lillian, manipulated water while explaining. Every demon has their own attribute, but compared to manipulating physical elements, abstract skills like dream manipulation are much harder to master, especially precognitive abilities. It's not a power that can be easily controlled. Dream demon abilities are generally used to predict the future or to invade the dreams of others, as well as creating artificial dreams. They can make people instantly fall asleep or wake up. They can even tame other dream demons. The previous leader of the dream demons once led a multitude of dream demons into the dreams of others. The more subordinates you have, the more freely you can move between different dreams. And after becoming the leader, you can also have a harem without restraint. The previous dream demon leader had different attendants serving him every day. He already had a sweetheart at the age of 5. Lillian continued, "When I taught him about keeping male consorts, even though the descriptions were tempting, he immediately refused. Although he didn't understand what love was yet, compared to having a harem, he was more concerned about the previous dream demon's cause of death." Speaking of which, Lillian's expression suddenly darkened. The Demon King faces a challenge every 50 years. The victor becomes the new king. The previous dream demon was defeated in this battle and lost his life. Maya, possessing the same ability, was frightened. She definitely couldn't rashly participate in such a battle. Then she remembered her father's warning. Never tell anyone about her precognitive dreams. So Maya asked Lillian about the reason. Ability and responsibility are like a scale. If others know the future, everyone will fight for their own benefit. Some even kidnap dream demons. But the moment the future is spoken, the dream demon son will pay with their life. But Maya's father and brother are very powerful. As long as she doesn't leave home, she'll be safe. Now, it's time to teach Maya how to use her abilities. As Lillian's magic circle appeared, a gentle force guided Maya. Opening her eyes once more, she found herself in the dream world. The experience made Maya even more eager to learn. After class, Lillian gave her the memoirs of past dream demons. Perhaps there would be information about the Jade Dream here. Maya picked up the red notebook. It was written by a dream demon who had many male consorts. The opening lines were incredibly narcissistic. Having so many men is truly wonderful. Father's extreme adoration and the sense of security her brother gave her made her no longer afraid of anyone. But the family she had struggled so hard to find all met tragic ends. Her brother protected her until his last breath. Her father prepared to self-destruct to give her a chance to escape. As the only dream demon who could see the future, she couldn't tell anyone the content of her dreams. The fate of her family rested solely on her shoulders. So at the tender age of 5, she studied with exceptional diligence. Lillian saw her yearning for power. So she gave her the memoirs of past dream demons. Although the ability to foresee the future couldn't be controlled, the green notebook detailed methods for its improvement. Through daily training and an intense focus, after a while one could choose to predict the near future or the distant future. But the other notebook, the red one, was filled with the previous dream demon's passionate escapades with her male consorts. Uninterested in this, Maya decided to skip ahead to the final blue notebook, but she was interrupted by the sudden appearance of her brother. Ball, feeling somewhat aggrieved, still held a grudge from losing the last competition against their father. Yearning intensely for recognition, he wanted to try for another chance. Although Maya had put up a do not enter sign, she still let Ball into her room. A decisive military commander was now his little sister's errand boy. Ball was now in charge of the family's security, dealing with those humans who didn't repay their debts. And this time, he had good news to share. In a few days, Khalid would be throwing a grand birthday party for Maya. It should have been a joyous occasion, but Maya's expression suddenly darkened. Was this the party from her precognitive dream? The brother who doted on her would be driven away. The father who adored her would be shut out. Troubled, the little one nestled in the embrace of her unicorn plush toy, pondering how to avert the impending crisis. At her birthday party, someone would kidnap the little demon. Desperate for a solution, she quickly consulted the third notebook. But this book's author was quite passive. He believed the future was predetermined. Even suffering must be accepted. But Maya disagreed. She chose to continue studying the green notebook. Within its pages, she found a possible solution. If she could master the ability to lull others to sleep, she could prevent the disaster without ruining the birthday party. Because she had worried so much during the day, Maya experienced a new precognitive dream that night. This time, she was in a prayer temple, listening to the murmurs of a distant crowd. They spoke of a weapon that could eradicate demons, and kidnapping a female demon. It was meant to boost morale. Maya guessed it was Neri, the leader of the temple. Only those people were used to stir up conflict. The scene began to shift uncontrollably. Maya found herself in a doll shop. She noticed a boy behind a curtain. Maya chased after him, but the curtain opened again, and she saw her brother, Ball, comforting her. A handsome man had invented a waterproof fabric. This caused Maya's goods to go unsold. She might lose 10 billion because of it. Meanwhile, the other team was celebrating. The handsome boy was the same one she had just seen in the doll shop. These 7 people who invented the waterproof fabric. Maya made a mental note of them. She had to find them first in the future. But the scene changed, and Maya entered a new one. On a street corner, 2 people were arguing. It was a silver-haired youth she had never seen before. They were rivals, yet they met in a dream. Both possessed precognitive abilities. They appeared in the same instant by accident. He was an angel, yet he used mandrake root as a medicinal herb, killing the man's brother. Maya nervously covered her mouth, but the silver-haired youth noticed her. With a sinister expression, he drew a weapon, ready to silence her. Maya woke up in terror. Her unicorn rushed to comfort her. Meanwhile, on the distant Sky Island, Naripo slowly awoke from his bed. In his dream, he had disguised himself as a child. But the simultaneous precognitive vision was a first for him. Was it simply because Maya's abilities were so strong? Thinking of this special little dream demon, Naripo grew more and more intrigued. But now, As the leader of the angels, he had more important matters to attend to. Elsewhere, Maya was lost in thought, bewildered by the multitude of precognitive dreams she'd experienced. Today was an important lesson on lulling others to sleep. The teacher had brought in 2 test subjects. Though their hands trembled nervously, they couldn't disobey Lillian, their teacher. Now, she had to practice her long-distance lulling ability. This way, even if danger arose, Maya would be able to handle it on her own. She imagined herself as a bee, exuding a sleep-inducing aroma. Soon, Maya felt the power. She transformed her dream ability into a giant blanket, slowly covering the 2 subjects, with a chorus of snores. Her first attempt was a success. She learned from her teacher that 80% of demons suffered from insomnia. Maya could earn a fortune in gold just by using her lulling ability. The little dream demon, who could weave dreams, tried lulling people to sleep for the first time. Pleasant dreams brought smiles to their faces, but she hadn't anticipated the trouble it would cause. As Maya fantasized about earning money with this skill, a servant voiced her concern. She wondered when they would wake up. The birthday banquet preparations still needed their attention. Suddenly realizing the subjects couldn't be awakened, Maya rushed to shake them. But no matter how she called out, it was no use. She remembered the green notebook, mentioning that lulling someone to sleep could lead to eternal slumber. Maya burst into tears, panicked. The teacher quickly comforted her, assuring her it would be all right. As a dream demon, she could enter their dreams and wake them. So, she was told to wait 2 days and see what happened. Maya spent the next day and a half distraught. Overwhelmed with worry, Maya couldn't sleep. Without Tina's companionship and care, the new maid made her life chaotic. Guilt and self-reproach gnawed at her. She hid under the covers, curling herself into a ball. Then, a knock at the door. An ornate gift box was left outside. Unsure who had sent a gift so late, Maya curiously opened the box. Inside were cookies imprinted with unicorns. Because they didn't look particularly refined, Maya concluded they weren't made by the family chef. Then she noticed a small note tucked inside. It turned out the servants, seeing Maya's distress, had specially made these cheer-up cookies. They hoped Maya would feel a little happier. Their care and affection warmed Maya's heart. These beautiful little cookies, she decided, must be treasured. It would be a shame to eat them. Glancing out the window, she noticed a crowd gathered below. It was Ball, her brother, instructing everyone. To ensure the safety of her birthday party, security around the castle had been drastically increased. He had buried 193 magical landmines. Now Ball wanted to test their power. He ordered a lesser demon to detonate one. The poor demon was terrified. Just then, Maya's call from upstairs was like a lifeline to the servant. Vale's attention was immediately drawn to his sister. He leaped to her floor in a single bound. The impulsive demon brother transformed into his sister's protector, even though they shared only a half-brother bond. He wanted to give her the best of everything. Seeing Maya still awake, he offered to tell her a bedtime story. He then noticed the gift box on the table. The crude cookies and the simple envelope seemed worthless in his eyes. But Maya became anxious and protective. Her unicorn familiar quickly intervened, tugging at its master and retrieving the cookies. To the unicorn, the gift was priceless. Not even Ball could have them. Understanding his sister's feelings, Ball urged her to go to sleep. Otherwise, her small body would never grow. His teasing struck a nerve. Maya curled up under the covers, ignoring him. Seeing this, Ball resorted to his ultimate weapon. He summoned his fire familiar. The moment the familiar, a large cat, appeared, Maya excitedly leaned forward. Whenever she had nightmares, it was this cat that soothed her to sleep. It had been so long since she'd seen it. Maya petted and stroked it happily. The familiar, usually aloof and distant around Ball, now seemed docile, gentle, and adorable. As night deepened, Ball softly coaxed his sister to sleep, even though he was tired from his work. He insisted on staying until she drifted off, sleepiness finally overcoming her. Maya's last thoughts were of her still unconscious servants, listening to her brother's carefree reassurances. Though slightly annoyed, she felt a strange sense of security. Looking at his sister asleep in her bed, Bale's eyes were filled with tenderness. Having once endured so much hardship, Maya now cherished this family more than anything. This further solidified his resolve to double his devotion and pamper his little sister. His mother had once told him that the day he found someone he wanted to protect, that would be the day he became the most powerful demon. Now, he finally understood the meaning of her words. Pampered to the heavens by her father and brother, no one dared to bully her anymore. Yet, the princess held in the palm of their hands harbored a secret worry. On the day of what should be her happiest birthday celebration, she was destined to be kidnapped. And now, her best friend, Tina, remained unconscious due to her mistake. Despite the potential dangers of venturing into dreams unprepared, she resolved to embark on the journey with her familiar. Under Lillian's guidance, as the unicorn's horn emitted a radiant glow, Maya felt her own power shifting. Her familiar was drawing upon her abilities. Soon, they found themselves in an unfamiliar environment. The rugged, winding path proved difficult for the unicorn to navigate. If they were to fall into a dream fissure, they too would remain trapped, never to awaken. Maya attempted to mend the path, but her power drained too quickly, leaving them unable to remain. After a sudden, dizzying fall, they were back in reality. Although Lillian wasn't a dream demon, she had heard that it was possible to use external objects to aid in navigating dreams. It was then that Maya suddenly recalled something from the previous dream demon's memoirs. One must first clearly construct a gateway into the dream, then use music to quell the target's resistance. Finally, the familiar would guide the dream demon along the correct path. Lillian presented Maya with a gift. It was an exquisite music box. Its soothing melody was enchanting. With renewed confidence, Maya and the unicorn entered the dream once more. This time, they effortlessly opened the gateway and rushed into their dream. A world overflowing with food astonished Maya. After repeated calls, she finally woke them on the third attempt. Demons born on the day of gluttony were always hungry. Having never known satiety, they finally feasted to their heart's content within the dream. But remembering Maya's impending birthday celebration, they realized they needed to start preparing immediately. The considerable expenditure of energy left Maya feeling utterly exhausted. 6 days remained until the kidnapping at her birthday banquet. The next morning, Maya personally went to inspect the layout of the venue. Determined not to let her father and brother grieve for her, she vowed to change this fate. The gift from her demon father had unexpectedly sparked a craze among humans, all vying for his daughter's attention. But Maya was completely oblivious, her mind preoccupied with seeing her brother, her mysterious and powerful older brother, and the handsome, silver-haired youth. Would they also attend her birthday celebration? She planned to share all the most delicious cotton candy with them. But then, Maya suddenly remembered a debt. Since striking a deal with the butler last time, the promised cotton candy payment had yet to be delivered. The butler's flustered expression said it all. He had completely forgotten. Even with his sincere apologies, Maya was not inclined to forgive him. Just then, the butler had a sudden idea for how to make amends. He was going to open a sweet shop for Maya, a place where she could not only indulge in pastries to her heart's content, but also invite her favorite demons to play. The delightful description made Maya's heart flutter with anticipation. She chose to trust the butler once more. Just then, her father, preparing to go out, called for her. They were going to choose thank you gifts together to give back to the demons who attended the banquet. Looking at the cherry blossoms blooming on both sides of the road, the beautiful scenery lifted her spirits. Feeling the warmth of her father's embrace, all her worries seemed to vanish in that moment. Maya gently tucked the flower in her hand into her father's hair. He looked even more gentle and handsome in that instant. Taking advantage of his daughter's happiness, her father seized the opportunity to present his prepared gift. It was the transfer deed to an estate. Not only did it have vast gardens, but also a vineyard and winery. However, the signing wouldn't happen until after the birthday banquet. He wanted to give Maya a brand new name. This also meant that Maya would completely bid farewell to the past, forever the cherished darling of the demon family. Maya gratefully gave her father a kiss. Such meticulous love overwhelmed her with happiness. But their conversation was overheard by a human hidden in the shadows. That estate was the core land of the demon family. The high-quality wine it produced brought immense wealth. Now, as long as one could establish a connection with Maya, it would be almost effortless to gain control over the demon family. Thus, a flurry of gift-giving to Maya quickly spread among the human nobility. She was the darling of the demon family, loved by her father and doted on by her brother. But when she saw other children being abused, past hurts surfaced in her heart because she had experienced darkness. She wanted to be a light for others. This day, as her father took her to buy return gifts for her birthday banquet, Maya's eyes immediately fell upon a unicorn doll. But amidst her joy, she suddenly noticed that this was a scene from her prophetic dream. And as she stepped forward to investigate, the figure of a boy quickly fled. Maya recognized him as the gifted boy, so she followed close behind. The dimly lit basement room was covered in dust. Suddenly, a hand clamped over her mouth. They couldn't wake the overseer. Otherwise, everyone would suffer. Faced with the sudden appearance of the wealthy young lady, the children's eyes were filled with wariness and panic. To quickly build trust, Maya removed the flower hairpin from her head and offered it as a down payment, proposing to hire them to make dolls. As long as everyone followed her out, her demon father would ensure everyone's safety. Just as the children began to consider her offer, the overseer suddenly awoke. A young girl kindly urged her to run, but Maya's gaze grew firm. She had to show her strength so they could confidently rely on her. Facing the menacing man, Maya roared, "Those who do evil will face retribution." Just as he raised his hand to strike, Maya's dream demon powers activated. A blue butterfly invaded the man's mind. In the next second, he collapsed into a deep sleep. He would be trapped in a nightmare, facing his punishment. Witnessing Maya's power, the boy who had initially led her to the basement was the first to pledge his allegiance. Then the other members introduced themselves one by one. The group emerged from the basement en masse. This, however, infuriated the shopkeeper. How dare they poach his workers? These beggars ate his food and lived under his roof. They had to stay and repay their debt. But Maya had already seen through his false benevolence. Years ago, the empire had issued a decree. Families with multiple children would receive a substantial monthly subsidy. The shopkeeper, by taking them in, had already profited considerably. Yet, he treated them like anything but human. Maya's demon father, understanding the situation, stepped in on his daughter's behalf to negotiate. Those who deceive and exploit orphan children will be burned at the stake. They weren't to be trifled with. The shopkeeper, left with no choice, relented. This was the first time Maya had used her powers to help other suffering children. She truly was the most remarkable little demon, the pampered darling of the demon family, yet a thorn in the side of her future sister. Even though the two had yet to meet, animosity had already taken root and begun to sprout. Meanwhile, Maya, still unaware of this, was excitedly preparing for her birthday banquet. Looking over the guest list provided by the butler, she hoped her older brother and stepmother would attend. But the first name that caught her eye was that of the empire's most powerful ruler, Her Majesty the Queen, a figure of absolute authority and influence. Maya was surprised to find that after Lillian's name, there was another written in gray ink. The butler stepped forward to explain. Kana was Lillian's daughter, but she had run away from home 15 years ago. Recalling the occasional look of preoccupation on her teacher's face, Maya asked if it might be possible to use the connection between familiars to find her. But demons born on the Day of the Void possessed exceptional abilities of concealment. No one could forcibly locate them. Her father comforted Maya, telling her not to dwell on it. It was all due to the nature of demons. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, the morning of the birthday banquet arrived. To prevent the kidnapping, she and Lillian, her unicorn familiar, divided the tasks. They agreed to memorize the faces of all the girls at the banquet, ensuring they could stop any kidnapper from leaving the estate. Maya also assigned a special task to Tina. As the sun began to set, the banquet commenced as planned. Sensing his little sister might be nervous, Abel took her hand and escorted Maya into the banquet hall. The room buzzed with activity, and curious eyes fell upon them. After she and her brother were seated, she spotted her exceptionally beautiful teacher, Lillian. And trailing behind Lillian was a tortoise, her familiar spirit. Though curious about its abilities, the sight of a tortoise drinking made Maya unable to resist a silent chuckle. Turning her attention elsewhere, her gaze landed on another girl. Her long hair, the vibrant color of a red rose. Instantly captivated Maya. Her brother, at her side, explained, "That's my cousin, but the demons in our family tend to have fiery temperaments." Perhaps you should focus on my older brother's entrance instead. At home, he was the family's pampered darling. Outside, he was adored by all demons. Their father yearned for his kisses. The guests anticipated his charming gestures. But his cousin, with a look of utter displeasure, openly declared her rivalry. Maya left her father's side, allowing Lillian to resume her true unicorn form and led her over to the girl. To prevent the kidnapping of any female demons, she needed to familiarize herself with everyone. Dahlia spoke first, introducing herself. I'm a sound demon, born from the day of wrath. My familiar is a highly venomous rattlesnake. As her melodious voice rang out, a small snake danced around her. Maya was filled with envy. However, her unicorn didn't like to dance, and she wouldn't force her companion. Next, Heidi stepped forward to greet Maya. My familiars are a swarm of fireflies. The flickering lights danced around her. Maya marveled at the magical display. Then, she introduced herself and her dream demon attributes. When everyone turned their attention to Valerie, she suddenly burst out laughing. Maya's small stature gave her an opening for attack. You look like you were born just yesterday. No wonder all you could do is act cute. A childish brat who hasn't even attended demon school. Why do you get to enjoy so many privileges? Before Maya's return to the demon world, Valerie had always been the center of attention. Now, consumed by jealousy, she attempted to belittle and manipulate Maya with her accusations. These all too familiar words reminded Maya of her past abuse. But she was no longer that insecure child. What right do you have to dislike me? I don't even know who you are. Valerie hastened to declare her prestigious status, but Maya quickly retorted, Are you more powerful than my father? Besides, I have a private tutor. Lillian teaches me every week. This statement sparked envy among the other demons. A tutor of Lillian's stature was highly esteemed. They only had the privilege of seeing such a tutor a few times a year, seeing that she was outmatched in every way. Valerie furiously summoned her familiar, a plump and adorable owl. Although Maya couldn't help but admire it inwardly, she composed herself and challenged Valerie. I can put people to sleep instantly. What's your ability? Valerie stammered, unable to answer. In truth, her abilities weren't particularly impressive. Maya demanded an apology, but Valerie, refusing to back down, resorted to a cruel jab. I heard you don't have a mother, and that you only recently returned to the demon world. Could it be your mother was a filthy god, or even a human? Her father provided her with security, and her second older brother, Abel, acted as a protector. As for her eldest brother, who had yet to appear, he must have married the queen as a consort, a position second only to the queen, even surpassing their father's status. In this world where female demons reigned supreme, even her father bowed before the queen. Yet, her eldest brother was not only a model husband, but also dared to playfully bicker with the queen. When the regal queen appeared alongside Lillian, they instantly captivated everyone's attention. Valerie's plan was thus thwarted. No demon cared about Maya's mother's identity anymore. Seeing her kind and gentle eldest brother so close to the queen, Maya could hardly believe her eyes. After all, Abel had never told her that their eldest brother was married. Watching his younger siblings enjoying themselves, the eldest brother came over to greet them and introduce himself. But, meeting him for the first time, Maya shyly clung to Abel's side. Her eldest brother assumed she was simply fond of her second brother. This, of course, flattered Abel, seeing the little one's shyness. Kian bent down and extended a hand to Maya. I'm your eldest brother. It's a pleasure to meet you. Maya had been so eager to meet him, but now, face flushed, she found herself tongue-tied. Abel, her second older brother, noticing her unusual reticence, couldn't resist teasing. You weren't like this the first time we met. Back then, you were all fierce, demanding an apology. Their playful banter brought a smile to Kian's, her eldest brother's, face. He gently stroked Maya's cheek. Having a little sister is wonderful. It's just a shame that because of my marriage, I can't be home with you all more often. He then produced a small box, a little something to commemorate our first meeting. Seeing Maya's captivated expression, a jealous Abel urged Kian to return to the queen's side. Kian clapped Abel on the shoulder. You're adorable too. I'll bring some fine wine and spend some time with you later. With that, he returned to the queen. Wherever the queen was, that was Kian's home. Maya envied such a deep connection and partnership. Her thoughts were interrupted by Abel's impatient prodding. "Come on, Maya, let's see what's inside." When a sparkling diamond bracelet was revealed, Abel instantly recognized it. This is a communication treasure. Wherever the owner goes, it creates a map, and you can leave messages at specific locations. Maya, curious about her brother's knowledge, asked how he knew so much. This led to a bit of gossip about Kian. Apparently, after arguments with his wife, Kian would retreat to the dungeons to vent his frustrations. Abel had been with him when he acquired the bracelet. Impressed by her brother's knowledge, Maya pulled out the cufflinks her father had given her. Abel identified them as protective talismans, capable of blocking both physical and mental attacks, though limited to one use per day. Maya, delighted, fastened the cufflinks securely and, with a mischievous glint in her eye, asked how much they were worth. Demon artifacts are priceless in the human world. Those little cufflinks are worth at least 50 billion. Maya, already fond of riches, clutched them even tighter. But amidst her excitement, she suddenly realized she hadn't seen her cousin, Valerie, for a while. Somewhere in the crowd, a pair of menacing eyes watched Maya's every move. It was a drinking practice so perverse it defied imagination. Young women, transformed into living glass vessels, were filled with fine wine. The movement of their bodies as they walked was said to enhance the flavor, all to satisfy the twisted desires of wealthy patrons. These same patrons also indulged in live dissections of beautiful women, treating it as entertainment, live-streamed for their viewing pleasure. Orchestrating this horrific spectacle was Gatlin, the underground queen, beautiful but utterly ruthless. Strapped to the operating table was Joan Liu, Gatlin's sworn enemy and heiress to the Zhou family fortune. Gatlin, addressing her audience through the screen, gave the order, "You may begin." A man stepped forward with a syringe, injecting Joan Liu with a blue liquid. Helpless, she could only watch as the scalpel traced its path across her flesh, so Ben Ruan temporarily left the lab. Shortly after his departure, Joan Liu awoke. She sensed the changes in her body, the plant matter within seeming to respond to her thoughts, allowing her to control it at will, even to merge with it, until finally she succumbed to the agonizing pain. Her heart was removed, a gruesome delicacy for the wealthy elite. But the horrors didn't end there. Gatlin ordered her henchman, Heizei Wu, to eliminate the entire Zhou family. This was the fate of anyone who dared to cross the underground queen, complete and utter annihilation. Meanwhile, in a quiet laboratory, Joan Liu, presumed dead, began to stir. Back on the operating table, someone had secretly injected her with a mysterious serum. That someone was Ben Ruan, a man who, in secret, had developed a revolutionary plant grafting procedure. Using a plant heart as the core, he could activate every blood vessel, granting the body a plant-like resilience. Joan Liu was his first successful test subject. Ben Ruan's ultimate goal was to overthrow Gatlin and free himself from Heizei Wu's control. Ben Ruan observed Joan Li's mutating body, confident she would awaken by the following day. Just then, a security guard burst in with urgent news. Heizei Wu had been kidnapped. All laboratories were to be locked down immediately. He thought his rebirth might be fate. Then, he used vines to pull down a nearby curtain. He used it to cover his impressive figure. Then, he extended the vines to his hair. In moments, he had styled his hair exactly as he wanted. He used a thin vine to open the laboratory door. Silver vines spread silently. The door to revenge had opened. Gatlin Zhuanli will fight you with my remaining life. This female lead is too extravagant. She just made a diamond shield to block bullets. That day, Sister Sa was taking Joan Liu on her first mission. To save time, they entered a deserted area. Inside the car, Sister Sa was teaching Joan Liu how to drive. Joan Liu was still feeling the warmth of Sister Sa's small hands, when suddenly a missile fell from the sky. With a boom, it blew their car away. In that critical moment, Sister Sa didn't forget to shield Joan Liu with her body. Then, Sister Sa told Joan Liu to quickly use her vines to form a shield. At that moment, another missile flew towards them. Sister Sa, holding the vine shield, immediately rushed forward, telling Joan Liu to quickly retreat. In the next second, she transformed the vine shield in her hand into a diamond shield, blocking the missile's explosion. Now, they had lost contact with the outside world, and above them, two people were silently watching them. One of them said, "Are those two Vine Girl and Diamond Girl?" The other replied, "That's right. According to our investigation, neither of them has long-range attack capabilities. We have the complete upper hand." The first person continued, "I'd really like to capture them alive and negotiate a deal with the protector company." Then he shouted down his sister Sa and Joan, "Listen up down there. We are the organization. You're cornered. Your only option now is to surrender. We'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. If you dare to resist or escape, we will open fire immediately." There were too many enemies. Joan knew they had to contact the outside world quickly to be rescued. Sister Sa came up with a plan. She said to Joan, "I'll run and draw their fire. Then you run in the opposite direction and find Gatlin and the others. We'll catch them all in one go then." As soon as she finished speaking, Sister Sa pushed the shield to Joan Lu and ran. Seeing Sister Sa running, the enemy increased their firepower, launching a fierce attack. Fortunately, her long legs carried her swiftly, dodging the bullets. Then, a missile flew towards Sister Sa and exploded right in front of her. At that critical moment, Joan Lu chased after her and used her vines to wrap around Sister Sa, pulling her out of the flames of the explosion. Thankfully, Sister Sa was alright, just shaken. They used the corner of a wall and the shield to temporarily take cover. But they couldn't stay like this forever. They had to find a way to fight back. Have you ever seen a morning glory that can spit diamonds? Just as Joan Lu and Sister Sa were surrounded by enemies and at their wits' end, a morning glory that had grown on Joan Lu caught Sister Sa's attention. This flower was originally created by Joan Lu to apply to Sister Sa's wounds to help relieve the pain. Sister Sa picked up a stone from the ground and stuffed it into the flower. The morning glory closed back into a bud. Having regained its strength, it spat the stone out. Seeing this, Sister Sa thought of a way to attack the enemy. She asked Joan Lu to create a supersized morning glory and filled it with diamonds. Seeing no movement from Joan Lu and Sister Sa, the enemy launched another fierce attack and sent people to investigate, preparing to capture them. At that moment, a giant flower bloomed. Suddenly, a diamond shot out from the flower. It struck the enemy hard. Then, one after another, like a machine gun, diamonds continuously shot out, sending the enemy scattering in all directions. A large lump had also formed on their heads, just as Joan Lu and Sister Sa were celebrating. A dazzling laser beam shot out from one side. In the next second, the laser pierced through the morning glory. The laser then struck the diamond shield. It turned out this laser was the special ability of Rocket, the leader of their organization. He could emit a red light from his eyes that could penetrate anything. Seeing his advantage, Rocket laughed and said, "Diamond Woman, my ability is your natural counter. Let's see how long you can last." Seeing this, Joan Lu anxiously said to Sister Sa, "I'll cover you. You rush out. Otherwise, we're both dead." Sister Sa, as always, remained calm. She told Joan Lu, "In this kind of life or death situation, don't just think about sacrificing yourself. You need to get used to facing things calmly and seeking a sliver of hope." Saying this, she pulled Joan Lu into an embrace and told her not to be nervous, assuring her that as long as she was there, nothing would happen to her. At this moment, Joan Lu remembered she could contact Ben Ruan for help through her micro earpiece. On the other side, Ben Ruan, after hearing Joan Li's suggestion, decided to try and gain more favor with He Zhe-Wu. He personally made He Zhe-Wu's favorite spicy chicken noodles and planned to deliver them. Meanwhile, in He Zhe-Wu's office, a man stood naked before him. This man was a doctor under He Zhe-Wu's command. To escape punishment from the inspection team, he was willing to sell his body. He wanted to gain a brief sense of security through this experiment. He said he had already drunk the company's newly developed potion and that his body now fully met the experimental requirements. As he spoke, he placed his hand on He Zhe-Wu's shoulder. He Zhe-Wu flung his hand away, bellowing, "Nonsense! Do you take me for a fool?" The man said this was all arranged by the company. He Zhe-Wu couldn't refuse at this point. The man then reached out to undo He Zhe-Wu's belt. This scene happened to be witnessed by Ben Ruan, who had come to deliver the spicy chicken noodles. He came to deliver noodles to his boyfriend, only to find his boyfriend being embraced by a naked man. Ben Ruan's face hardened, and he turned and ran. He Zhe-Wu, thinking Ben Ruan had misunderstood, hurried after him. Before leaving, he didn't forget to tell the doctor, "If you still want to live, don't ever appear before me again. I decide who my experimental subjects are. After running from Hei Wu, Ben Ruan thought, could that man be Hei Wu's lover? Just then, he received Joan Li's emergency distress signal. For the sake of his revenge plan, Ben Ruan couldn't let anything happen to her. He immediately ran towards the company headquarters. The lunchbox in his hand fell to the ground in the chaos. Hei Wu chased him out and saw Ben Ruan already far away. He thought Ben Ruan must have misunderstood him. Suddenly, he noticed the spicy chicken noodles on the ground. Opening it, he realized Ben Ruan had come to deliver him lunch. Just then, Hei Wu heard someone call his name. Turning around, he saw 3 doctors in white coats, each holding different dishes, presenting them to him. Hei Wu knew they were all there for the breakthrough project. He said coldly, I don't like any of these. Get out of here. But the 3 doctors didn't intend to leave. Seeing this, Hei Wu roared, if you don't get out, I'll suck your blood dry. The 3 doctors, terrified, quickly ran away. After they left, Hei Wu looked at the lunchbox in his hand and decided then and there that Ben Ruan was the one who would bear his children. Meanwhile, Ben Ruan had already sent the distress signal. At this moment, someone was hiding in the ventilation shaft above him. It turned out to be a member of the inspection team, surveilling him. They planned to continue their surveillance around his residence tonight. Elsewhere, Joan Lu and Sister Sa's diamond shield had been pierced, leaving a large hole. Just as the sniper was aiming at the hole in the shield, a sudden scream echoed. The sniper rifle clattered to the ground. Following that, the organization's members fell one after another. Hearing gunshots in the distance, Joan Lu immediately asked. Sister Sa also recognized the sound of Tong's gun. Their rescue had arrived. Tong and Ami had joined the fight. One rode a large black panther, the other a motorcycle. Their arrival was breathtakingly cool. Tong identified the enemy leader on the upper floor. Ami, astride the panther, scaled the building. Tong charged towards 2 other enemies. It was a method of drinking even the most depraved couldn't imagine. Girls were encased in glass containers, filled with fine wine. The constant movement was meant to enhance the flavor. They even performed live dissections of beautiful women as a form of entertainment, catering to the twisted desires of the wealthy. Orchestrating this horror was Gatlin, the underground queen. She addressed the screen, commanding, begin. A man stepped forward with a syringe, injecting Joan Lu with a blue liquid. Joan could only watch helplessly as a blade slid across her body, finally succumbing to the agonizing pain. Her heart was extracted for Gatlin's consumption. Gatlin then ordered Hei Wu to eliminate Joan Li's entire family. Meanwhile, in the quiet laboratory, Joan Lu, presumed dead, began to stir. Ben Ruan had saved her. To escape Gatlin's control, he had secretly developed a plant-based transplant procedure. A plant's heart would serve as the core, activating every blood vessel, granting the body a plant-like vitality. Joan Lu was the perfect test subject. Ben Ruan observed her transforming body, believing she would awaken by the next day. Just then, security reported Hei Wu's kidnapping, necessitating the lab's immediate lockdown. Ben Ruan left the lab. Shortly after his departure, Joan Lu awoke. She sensed the change. The plant within responded to her thoughts, bending to her will, becoming one with her. This rebirth, she thought, must be destiny. She used a vine to pull down a nearby curtain, covering her form. Then, with delicate tendrils, she unlocked the lab door. Gatlin, she vowed, I will spend the rest of my life fighting you. Elsewhere, in an abandoned building, Hei Wu was bound by Joan Li's father. Several armed men surrounded him. 3 women in high heels entered, followed by a wave of armed personnel. Joan's father moved forward to plead for help, but was shot dead. Hei Wu had bought them off. Realizing the betrayal, Joan's father tried to take Hei Wu with him, but discovered his gun had been tampered with. A 6-fingered shadow loomed behind him. His fingerprints slowly appeared on Joan's father's face. With a scream, he collapsed into a pool of blood. The others were also killed. Hei Wu surveyed the scene with satisfaction. Clean this up, he ordered. As they began cleaning, Joan Lu arrived. Seeing her father's body, rage consumed her. Vines erupted from her body, wrapping around the necks of the armed men. Gaping, bloodthirsty flowers appeared, lunging at them. Screams filled the air as they too fell lifeless. Meanwhile, Gatlin continued her impassioned speech on stage, flanked by 6 leggy beauties. To control the city, she had disguised professional killers as pop idols. Joan Lu arrived, hidden amongst the cheering crowd, her gaze fixed on the stage. These were the people she had to destroy. Suddenly, Ami on stage locked eyes with Joan Lu. Just as Joan thought she'd been recognized, the men behind them pulled out rocket launchers and started firing. Their comrades opened up with AK-47s, spraying bullets indiscriminately. Joan Lu was hit. Tong instantly stepped forward, confronting the thugs. Seeing Tong, the thugs immediately retreated. Tong gave chase. Joan Lu, wounded, escaped into the woods. There, she overheard a conversation between Sister Sa and the thugs. It turned out Gatlin had orchestrated the entire attack. The purpose was to give the newly formed girl group, Ken, a chance to prove themselves. Sister Sa exhaled a chilling breath. The 2 thugs instantly collapsed in agony. Suddenly, Sister Sa turned towards the woods. "I see you," she called out. "Come out." Unable to run because of her leg injury, Joan Lu unleashed a barrage of carnivorous plants towards Sister Sa. Sister Sa swiftly countered with her chilling breath. In an instant, the carnivorous plants withered. Sister Sa advanced towards Joan Lu. Just then, the vines on Joan Li's body began to merge with the surrounding forest. This immobilized her. Sister Sa riched Joan Lu, grabbed her shoulder, and unleashed her chilling breath. The agonizing cold racked Joan Li's body. Just as she felt she could take no more, the large trees around them sprang to life, striking Sister Sa. Joan Lu realized she could control the entire forest with her vines. She now held the upper hand. By the time Sister Sa understood, it was too late. Several massive, tree-like hands pinned her to the ground, relentlessly pummeling her. Having defeated Sister Sa, Joan Lu collapsed, her body succumbing to the poisonous fumes. Hearing the commotion, He Wu arrived at the woods. He found signs of Sister Sa's struggle, but not Sister Sa herself. He wondered if she had been killed. Just then, he saw Ben Ruan's car driving away. A short while later, Joan Lu slowly regained consciousness. Ben Ruan had arrived just in time to save her. He told her she needed regular injections of a growth suppressant, where the plant-based heart within her would continue to grow, eventually taking over her entire body. Ben Ruan brought Joan Lu back to his laboratory. He explained that the plant-based healing method required water. She needed to consume enough water every day to maintain harmony with the plant within her. Suddenly, He Wu burst into the lab. He grabbed Ben Ruan by the throat. "What were you doing in the woods?" he demanded. As Ben Ruan began to explain, He Wu caught a whiff of flowers. He ripped aside a curtain. To his surprise, the bathtub was filled with flowers. He Wu started towards the flowers, intending to examine them. Suddenly, the flowers released a cloud of pollen. Joan Lu had been hiding in the bathtub, controlling the flowers. He Wu, with his sensitive nose, was severely allergic to pollen. He fled the laboratory in a panic. For her safety, Joan Lu needed to leave the lab as soon as possible. Ben Ruan fitted her with a communication device. He told her that Ken was now short a member, and Gatlin would be looking for someone with abilities to fill the vacancy. The next step of the plan was for Joan Lu to join them, to become a member of the girl group. Meanwhile, Gatlin was kneeling at the feet of a man. The man kicked her to the ground. He was about to send her for live dissection. 2 figures resembling ox-headed and horse-faced demons entered. They dragged Gatlin towards the exit. Gatlin struggled free, clutched the man's leg, and begged for mercy. The man was the leader of AKA, the head of the company. He was furious with Gatlin for her mismanagement, which had led to the loss of a kin member. Finally, the leader gave Gatlin a chance to redeem herself. She had 3 days to find a replacement. The next day, Sister Sa and Ami were driving home in their sports car. Suddenly, a flower shop by the roadside caught his attention. He hadn't expected a flower shop to exist in this technology-driven city, practically devoid of trees. Sister Sa then steered the car towards the flower shop. It turned out that the shop was run by Joan Lu. Inside the flower shop, Joan Lu was talking to Ben Ruan through a miniature earpiece. She expressed her doubts about Ben Ruan's plan, questioning whether a flower shop could really lure Sister Sa in. On the other end of the line, Ben Ruan spoke in a hushed, conspiratorial tone. Don't worry, he reassured her. Sister Sa uses that road frequently. You just need to be patient. Ben Ruan then said that it wasn't a good place to talk and that he was going to find somewhere more private. However, at that moment, Heze Wu, who was behind him, noticed his strange behavior. He wondered what Ben Ruan was muttering about to himself and decided to follow him. Back in the flower shop, Joan Lu was still worrying about how to approach them when Sister Sa and Ami strutted in with an air of arrogance. Joan Lu could only hurriedly step forward and offer a welcome. Sister Sa looked her up and down. These flowers of yours have a peculiar shape, she remarked. They're not fake, are they? Joan Lu then demonstrated her plant-based abilities to Sister Sa. A vibrant red rose sprouted instantly from her fingertip. Joan Li's power successfully piqued Sister Sa's interest. Sister Sa reached out and pinched the rose between her fingers. Suddenly, a burst of blue flame ignited, instantly charring the red rose to black. Sister Sa then presented the charred remains to Joan Lu. She blew on the blackened rose, and in the next instant, a lifelike diamond rose appeared in Joan Li's hand. I don't have any money on me, Sister Sa said. Consider this payment for the flower. Joan Lu seized the opportunity, mentioning that the diamond could buy her entire shop. She added that she was planning to move elsewhere next week to find other work. Sister Sa, thinking she couldn't let Joan Lu go, decided this girl would be a perfect fit for Can. You don't need to look for other work, Sister Sa said. I can recommend you for Kansas. Joan Lu knew she couldn't agree immediately, so she feigned surprise. Would I really qualify? She asked. Sister Sa assured her that she would. But before that, she added, shouldn't you change those dreadfully dull shoes? Leaning closer, she whispered in Joan Li's ear, I have quite the collection at home. Why don't you come back with me? Joan Lu politely declined Sister Sa's invitation to visit her home that evening. Just then, Ami entered from outside, urging Sister Sa to hurry. Gatlin seemed to need them urgently. Sister Sa told Joan Lu, if you want to join Can, wait for me here at the flower shop tomorrow. As she headed for the door, Sister Sa added, I'll come back for the flower tomorrow too. After they left, Joan Lu suddenly developed a fever and felt weak. She went to a nearby pharmacy and bought a packet of fever reducers. Meanwhile, Ben Ruan lay unconscious on a bed, stripped of his clothes. Heze Wu unbuttoned his own shirt and leaned closer to Ben Ruan's body. Fangs elongated from his mouth as he bit down on Ben Ruan's neck. Then, Heze Wu's hair began to change color. His body also transformed, ultimately taking on Ben Ruan's appearance. It turned out that Heze Wu had eavesdropped on Joan Lu and Ben Ruan's conversation. He now knew about Joan Li's plant-based abilities. Fortunately, their conversation hadn't touched upon the murder of An. Heze Wu only suspected that An's death was connected to the person on the other end of the line, but he lacked concrete evidence. Taking advantage of the situation, Heze Wu had drugged and then drained Ben Ruan's blood, assuming his form. He planned to meet this plant girl. Once he found sufficient proof that Ben Ruan killed An, he would eliminate both Ben Ruan and the plant girl. Meanwhile, Joan Lu received a message from Ben Ruan via the miniature signal receiver. It was the last thing Ben Ruan had said before being drugged by Heze Wu. You must go somewhere with plants or water tonight to replenish your energy, or you'll get sick. So, Joan Lu thought of the only patch of woods in Magic Cube City. She arrived in the woods, and sure enough, it felt very comfortable. Her body slowly began to recover. She was still blissfully lying in the hammock she had woven, replenishing her strength. But she was unaware of the danger quietly approaching. At this moment, Heze Wu, disguised as Ben Ruan, arrived in the woods. Joan Lu was surprised to see her good friend, Ben Ruan. She remembered Ben Ruan telling her that Heze Wu had been at the company these past few days and wasn't free. Joan Lu instantly became suspicious of the man in front of her. Heze Wu, disguised as Ben Ruan, asked directly, did you dispose of Ah Wen's body cleanly? He thought to himself, the moment you tell me where Ah Wen's body is, I'll kill you. Fortunately, Joan Lu reacted quickly, sensing that Ben Ruan's tone was different than usual. She then told Heze Wu that she didn't know anyone named Ah Wen. Heze Wu continued to fish for information. The girl with the braids and the leather jacket. Haven't you seen her in the woods? Joan Lu said she had indeed seen the girl, but she saw her run towards the river. Then she heard a few gunshots. Hearing this, Heze Wu thought that perhaps someone else had dealt with Ah Wen, but he felt that even so, this woman couldn't be allowed to live. Just as Heze Wu was about to make his move, a flower from behind Joan Lu landed on his face. Hei-Zhe-Wu immediately started sneezing uncontrollably. Joan Lu was now certain. The person in front of her was Hei-Zhe-Wu. Only Hei-Zhe-Wu was allergic to pollen. The clever Joan Lu saw through Hei-Zhe-Wu's disguise. She didn't panic, but decided to play along. She then said, "Ben Ruan, I don't understand why you always try to avoid Hei-Zhe-Wu. He knows you care about him. You were even worried he'd get a high fever from his pollen allergy. You asked me to buy him fever medicine." She even took out the packet of fever medicine. Hei-Zhe-Wu was deeply touched. He was used to his subordinates either fearing him, hating him, or loathing him. Unexpectedly, this was the first time he'd heard someone express concern for him. The image of Ben Ruan sleeping soundly in his sister's clothes flashed through his mind. Just as Joan Lu was trying to figure out how to escape, it began to rain. The pollen's effect on Hei-Zhe-Wu wore off. Now Joan Lu was in danger again. The sound of a helicopter came from overhead. Joan Lu seized the opportunity and said she was going to see what was happening. She then fled from Hei-Zhe-Wu, only to be kidnapped by thugs. The thugs held Joan Lu at gunpoint to resist the police pursuit. But in the next second, vines sprouted from behind Joan Lu. She not only effortlessly broke free from the thug's grasp, but also tied them up with the vines. Although she didn't pose a threat to him, this allowed Hei-Zhe-Wu to catch up. By now, Hei-Zhe-Wu's transformation time was up. Revealing his true face, he no longer held back and lunged at Joan Lu to suck her blood. Just as Hei-Zhe-Wu was choking Joan Lu, her life hanging by a thread, a hand stopped him. It was Sister Sa. She then received an order not to harm the girl. The leader wanted to see her. Hei-Zhe-Wu then released his grip. However, after the brief encounter, Hei-Zhe-Wu dismissed his suspicions. He felt that with Joan Li's weak skills, she couldn't possibly have killed Awan. Then a car drove up. Sister Sa led Joan Lu towards the car. The car window slowly rolled down. Her former enemy, Gatlin, appeared before her. Joan Lu stared at Gatlin in the car, her eyes wide. Gatlin, pleased with Joan Li's abilities and appearance, turned and instructed Sister Sa about the test to be performed on the girl that night. Joan Lu then got into the car with Sister Sa and the other girl group members. Suddenly, Sister Sa opened the car window. A dragonfly appeared in Sister Sa's hand. The dragonfly then burst into blue flames. Sister Sa gently blew on it, and the dragonfly, which had just been fluttering its wings, transformed into a diamond. Sister Sa then removed a diamond from her hair. She fashioned it into a diamond dragonfly necklace. Finally, Sister Sa said, "Tonight, you'll come to my place and take a bath first. Tomorrow, I'll take you to the other side of the company." Back home, Hei-Zhe-Wu watched Ben Ruan sleeping soundly. He wanted to see what Ben Ruan was dreaming about, for he possessed the ability to peer into the dreams of others. He pressed his forehead against Ben Ruan's and entered his dreamscape. In the dream, Ben Ruan was arrogantly ordering Hei-Zhe-Wu around, even kicking him for making mistakes. Hei-Zhe-Wu had hoped to uncover some hidden scheme, but it was all just mundane nonsense. Just then, Ben Ruan jolted awake, finding himself completely naked. He was being stared down by Hei-Zhe-Wu, and in the next instant, he was begging for mercy. Hei-Zhe-Wu sneered, "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be a corpse." He sat down coldly. "I've taken that medicine," he said. Ben Ruan wondered if Hei-Zhe-Wu had taken Joan Li's biochemical concoction. Worried, he asked, "How do you feel now?" Hei-Zhe-Wu touched his forehead. "I did have a bit of a fever earlier, but I feel better now." He leaned closer to Ben Ruan. "What's your relationship with that plant girl?" he demanded. "You have to tell me everything tonight." To avoid exposure, Ben Ruan fabricated a story involving the company's enemy, the Z organization. Hei-Zhe-Wu recalled Joan Li's words. They seemed to align with Ben Ruan's tale. And the Z organization certainly had its share of superpowered individuals capable of killing Awan. "I'll report this to the company," Hei-Zhe-Wu declared. "But you violated company policy by contacting outsiders during work hours. I'm locking you up for a month." He then thoughtfully handed Ben Ruan a pair of scavenged underwear. Remembering he'd drained a fair amount of Ben Ruan's blood, he instructed the guard to provide plenty of blood-enriching supplements to the prisoner. He still had use for this man. Meanwhile, Sister Sa brought Joan Lu to her home. Upon entering, Joan Lu saw a large, human-shaped diamond. "That's my ex-boyfriend," Sister Sa explained. "He cheated and wouldn't repent. During an argument, I accidentally turned him into that. I haven't trusted men since." Sister Sa led Joan Lu to the bathroom. As Joan Lu began to undress, he remembered the mark on his back from the surgery. It was Gatlin's brand, reserved for his enemies. Sister Sa urged him to hurry and take his clothes off. He lied, saying he needed to use the restroom first. At that moment, Sister Sa ripped the towel from Joan Lee's body. He had no choice but to step into the bath. Sister Sa offered him a glass of wine. Joan Lee figured alcohol wouldn't affect his plant physiology, so he took a small sip. After 3 glasses, Sister Sa's warm breath grazed Joan Lee's ear. Her hand began to wander, caressing him. When she touched the secret on his back, Joan Lee's heart pounded. Suddenly, vines sprouted from his back. The alcohol had quickened his blood flow, and combined with the water absorption, his body was undergoing a dramatic transformation. The plants within him were growing rapidly, like a renewal. New vines replaced the old. Even his skin was rejuvenated, and the mark vanished. Elsewhere, the heavy-set guard watching Ben Ruan finally gave him some decent clothes. Through the window, Ben Ruan overheard a bespectacled guard tell the heavy-set one about a vial of medicine he'd found. It was the very medicine Ben Ruan had intended to inject into Joan Liu to suppress his plant growth. They had stumbled upon it. The bespectacled guard gave the medicine to the heavy-set guard on duty. He pocketed it, saying he'd report it to the company tomorrow. Ben Ruan, peering through the window, saw everything. That medicine was crucial for Joan Liu. So Ben Ruan decided to risk stealing the medicine back. He yelled towards a fat guard outside the door, "Hey, I'm hungry. Why haven't you brought me food yet?" Soon after, the fat guard brought the blood-enriching food He Wu had specifically ordered. Ben Ruan looked at the food in front of him. In order to get the medicine, he pretended to be outraged, shouting, "Are you kidding me?" Then he kicked the food over. Watching Ben Ruan waste the food, the fat guard angrily said, "You're too arrogant." He then pounced on Ben Ruan, force-feeding the food into Ben Ruan's mouth. And all of this happened to be witnessed by He Wu. Seeing this, He Wu coughed loudly twice to make his presence known, while the fat guard panicked and looked towards He Wu at the door. Ben Ruan, with lightning speed, successfully stole the medicine. After getting the medicine, he didn't know where to hide it, so he had to stuff it under his buttocks. Outside the door, He Wu questioned the fat guard about what he was doing just now. The fat guard explained that the kid refused to eat. Then slap. He Wu's hand came down in a stinging blow. The poor fat guard covered his face and walked away, whimpering. He Wu entered the room and casually called Ben Ruan's name. Ben Ruan gave a wry smile, thinking to himself, "I just got rid of the wolf, and now here comes the tiger." He Wu held up a bag in his hand and said, "I brought you a pair of pants. Stand up and try them on to see if they fit." Ben Ruan stammered and stalled. He Wu sensed something was wrong with him. He ordered, "I said, stand up and try on the pants." In a critical moment, Ben Ruan had another clever idea. He pretended to have a stomachache in front of He Wu. Ben Ruan put his hand on his stomach, groaning and whimpering. Seeing this, He Wu asked with concern, "What's wrong?" Then, angrily, he yelled for the fat guard to get back in here. The poor fat guard was blamed once again. He plopped down on his knees and wet himself, crying, "It wasn't me. It has nothing to do with me." Then He Wu ordered the fat guard to find Dr. Ko. As it happened, Dr. Ko had a very good private relationship with Ben Ruan. No words were needed between the men. Dr. Ko understood perfectly. He made up a random excuse to get Ben Ruan out of the damp room for treatment. In this way, Ben Ruan successfully changed rooms. Meanwhile, Sister Sa, after finishing her bath, took Joan Liu to the rooftop garden. After the two arrived on the rooftop, they found no flowers. Sister Sa explained that she had planted many flowers before, but they all died. Only this one in her hand was barely clinging to life. The soil in this city was polluted by industry and wasn't suitable for growing flowers. Wanting to build a good relationship with Sister Sa, Joan Liu decided to help her. She stuck her finger into the flower pot, and a small sprout broke through the soil. Then the sprout grew rapidly, blossoming into a blue rose. Joan Liu told Sister Sa that this flower would slowly take root in the soil. Soon, it would share the same root system as the wilting flower. As she spoke, the two flowers bloomed and embraced each other. Sister Sa was overjoyed to see her rose not only revived but also accompanied by a blue rose. She hooked her finger around Joan Li's and said, "It's so nice to know you." Their relationship began to resemble the two roses intertwined with each other. Joan Liu felt that Sister Sa was different from the other Catgirl group members. So she curiously asked Sister Sa how she joined the company. Sister Sister Sa began to tell her story. It turned out that Sister Sa grew up in the countryside. There were beautiful golden rapeseed fields and brilliant flowers. But the good times didn't last. Her village was discovered to have a huge diamond field underground. After that, many strangers came to dig for diamonds. Until one day, these people kidnapped Sister Sa. They cut open Sister Sa's skin with a knife and stuffed the mined diamonds into her flesh, one by one. Because they were mining illegally, they came up with the idea of using children's bodies to smuggle the diamonds out. But Sister Sa's family was already killed by those people. Her village is gone too. Sister Sa said, "All I remember is that those people had Z-shaped tattoos." So after that, Jonla asked, every time Sister Sa saw someone with a Z-shaped tattoo, she killed them. Jonla then asked if Sister Sa joined the Protector Company for revenge. Sister Sa replied that it wasn't just for revenge, but also to repay a kindness. She added that if anyone betrayed the company, she would not hesitate to kill them. Jonlu thought to himself, surprised that Sister Sa had a similar past. It was a shame their targets for revenge were different. Sister Sa then led Jonlu back to her room. Soon, he drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, Joan Lee's micro earpiece wriggled out, transmitting Ben Ruan's voice. So as not to be overheard by Sister Sa, Joan Lu excused himself. Joan Lu told Ben Ruan that he had successfully gained Sister Sa's trust and would be joining the CAP group tomorrow. The next day, Joan Lu, dressed in elegant attire, arrived at the company headquarters. Gatlin greeted him warmly. Seeing his enemy Gatlin again, Joan Lu masked his inner hatred and called out a greeting. Gatlin then proceeded to show Joan Lu around the company. Before leaving, Joan Lu glanced back meaningfully. Sister Sa responded with a playful wink. However, the other members of the girl group weren't so welcoming. Six Fingers felt that Joan Lee's arrival, so soon after Ah Wen's death, was suspicious. Bai Li, using her precognitive abilities, sensed that Ah Wen's essence felt suppressed, as if held captive. Sister Sa told them not to overthink it. Nothing can suppress Ah Wen. He's dead. By this time, Gatlin had led Joan Lu inside to familiarize him with the company's operations. He told Joan Lu that from today onwards, he was a member of CAT, and their mission was to convince the public that the company's purpose was to benefit humanity. Joan Lu thought to himself how utterly shameful it all was. He vowed to expose the Protector Company's wickedness to the world. Gatlin showed Joan Lu the new poster. And there, in the center, was Joan Lu. Just the day before, the company head had instructed Gatlin to place Joan Lu in a prominent position. Although Gatlin had worried about the other girls' dissatisfaction and potential objections, the head had been resolute. The head had explained that the older members, if they ever learned the truth, would eventually rebel. Continuously cultivating new members was the only long-term strategy. Meanwhile, at He Wu's territory, a group of uninvited guests arrived. They were the Protector Company's disciplinary squad, responsible for eliminating traitors within the company. Because their leader, Mo Sang Bai, had a prior grudge against He Wu, he used the company's authority as a pretext to cause trouble in He Wu's territory. Even He Wu's warnings to stay out of his affairs were futile. Mo Sang Bai had the head's authorization. Except for the head and Gatlin, he had the authority to eliminate anyone deemed a threat to the company. Mo Sang Bai also reminded He Wu that Dr. Ben Ruan was a key person of interest in their investigation. Just then, the fat guard arrived at the scene. He reported the missing potion. Upon learning of Ben Ruan's involvement with the potion, Mo Sang Bai furiously rushed off to confront Ben Ruan. Dr. Ku, having heard the news, hurried to warn Ben Ruan. After learning of the situation, Ben Ruan pleaded with Dr. Ku for help, but Dr. Ku flatly refused. Ben Ruan threatened to expose Dr. Ku's secret, that he was a fraud if he didn't help. However, Dr. Ku wasn't easily intimidated. After all, as long as Ben Ruan walked out healthy in the end, no one would suspect his medical incompetence. Just as Dr. Ku was about to leave, Ben Ruan offered a more enticing proposition. If Dr. Ku helped him this time, he would introduce him to a long-legged girl from CAP. He even showed him a picture of Joan Lu. At that moment, He Wu suddenly arrived at Ben Ruan's room. He then abruptly threw back Ben Ruan's covers. Taking out a detection device, he scanned Ben Ruan's pockets and discovered something inside. He Wu, holding the blue medicine in his hand, said coldly, "Hand it over." In the next second, he gripped Ben Ruan's throat tightly. "If the company finds out about this," he threatened, "no one can save you. Do you understand?" Just then, the disciplinary squad arrived. Mo sang Bai, seeing the seemingly incriminating evidence, ordered Ben Ruan's arrest. Upon hearing this, Ben Ruan clung to He Wu. "It's nasal medicine for you, Haterun," he explained. He Wu sniffed the medicine and found it indeed soothing. Mo sang Bai called over the fat guard to confirm if it was the same medicine. "The color seems to match," the guard affirmed. Meanwhile, Dr. Kuth thought to himself, "I altered the pigment, of course it looks the same." The real biochemical agent had already been switched out. Continuing his performance, Dr. Ku added, "Ben Ruan constantly worries about you, Haterun. He's always telling me how much he wishes he could cure your nasal problems." He Wu's heart softened. He adopted the air of a powerful man, unable to bear his beloved's suffering. He fussed over Ben Ruan, concerned, "Did I hurt you just now? Was I too rough?" Mo sang Bai watched the temperature rise between them, feeling his own blood boil. "That little scoundrel Ben Ruan is a fantastic actor," he thought. "I can't let him get away with this." He immediately ordered Ben Ruan's arrest. He Wu instantly stepped in front of Ben Ruan to protect him. "As long as I'm here," he declared, "no one will lay a finger on Ben Ruan." A member of the disciplinary squad grabbed Ben Ruan. In the next moment, He Wu knocked him back with a single punch. He pointed at the disciplinary squad. "Anyone else takes one step closer," he warned, "and I'll kill them." Seeing that he couldn't take Ben Ruan today, Mo sang Bai reluctantly retreated. He instructed the masked man to keep Ben Ruan under strict surveillance. Only after the situation had calmed did He Wu remember the important meeting he had yet to attend. He hurried towards the meeting room. Inside, Gatlin was explaining the company's latest research on a fertility drug designed to perpetuate exceptional genes. It bypassed gender restrictions, allowing even men to bear children. This project was named the Breaking Walls Initiative. To observe its effectiveness, Gatlin intended to put He Wu in charge of its implementation. He Wu stared at the Breaking Walls proposal, his mind elsewhere. He fixated on the bottle of medicine he'd taken from Ben Ruan. Lost in thought about Ben Ruan's devotion, he superimposed their faces onto the illustrative figures in the proposal. He pictured Ben Ruan cradling a swollen belly, saying, "Hey Darun, my stomach grows larger every day. What should we do?" He Wu imagined himself holding Ben Ruan's hand, declaring firmly, "This is my child. Promise me you'll carry it to term." He envisioned Ben Ruan looking down, lamenting, "But the company has rules. Someone of my lowly status, your child would be cast out." He Wu, in his daydream, gazed lovingly into Ben Ruan's eyes. "Don't worry," he reassured him. "I'm here. If that happens, we'll leave and wander the world together." He Wu was still lost in this sweet reverie when Gatlin called him back to reality. He stressed the importance of ensuring the final stage of the experiment went smoothly. After the meeting, the men discussed Gatlin's plan, deeming it absurd. They tried to persuade He Wu to join them in reporting Gatlin. Still immersed in his fantasy, He Wu warned, "If any of you dare report him, you'll have me to deal with." He then hummed a tune as he walked away. Elsewhere, Ben Ruan relayed his recent ordeal to Joan Lu through a micro earpiece, urging him to act quickly. Joan Lu replied that he was still searching for evidence of the Protector Company's crimes. Ben Ruan insisted they meet soon to administer the injection, warning of the impending danger. Joan Lu advised Ben Ruan to continue appeasing He Wu, even suggesting that if the situation became dire, surrendering to He Wu might be necessary for survival. Just then, Sister Sa arrived. She was there to take Joan Lu on his first mission. To save time, they drove into a deserted area. Inside the vehicle, Sister Sa was teaching Joan Lu how to drive. Joan Lu was still relishing the warmth of her hand on his. Suddenly, a missile fell from the sky. With a deafening boom, it obliterated their vehicle. At this critical juncture, Sister Sa instinctively shielded Joan Lu with her body. Then, she urged him to quickly transform his vines into a shield. Another missile screamed towards them. Sister Sa, gripping the vine shield, instantly charged forward. In the next second, the vine shield in her hand morphed into a diamond shield, deflecting the missile's explosion with a practiced ease. They were now cut off from the outside world. Above them, two figures watched silently. "Those two are just too much," one of them remarked. "The Vine Woman and the Diamond Queen." "Indeed," the other replied. A According to our investigation, neither of them possesses long-range attack capabilities. We have the complete upper hand. The first one continued, I'd really like to capture them alive. Negotiate a deal with the Protector Company. He then raised his voice, addressing Sister Sa and Joan Lu directly. Listen up down there. We are our own organization. You're cornered. Your only option now is to surrender. You have 10 seconds to decide. If you resist or attempt to escape, we will open fire immediately. There are too many, Sister Sa said to Joan Lu. We need to contact the outside for help and fast. She continued, I'll run and draw their fire. Then you run in the opposite direction. Find Gatlin and the others. We'll take them down together. As soon as she finished speaking, Sister Sa shoved the shield into Joan Lee's hands and sprinted forward. Seeing her run, their attackers intensified their barrage, unleashing a furious volley of fire in her direction. Luckily, her long legs carried her swiftly, dodging the bullets. Then, a missile hurtled towards her, detonating right in front of her. In that perilous moment, Joan Lu rushed forward, his vines wrapping around Sister Sa, pulling her from the inferno of the explosion. They took cover behind a corner, using the shield for added protection. Just then, a morning glory blossom that had sprouted from Joan Lee's body caught Sister Sa's attention. He had conjured the flower to soothe her pain, applying it to a wound. But Sister Sa picked up a stone from the ground and stuffed it into the blossom. The morning glory retracted into a bud. Then, with a surprising burst of force, spat the stone back out. Seeing this, Sister Sa had an idea for attacking their enemies. She asked Joan Lu to create a giant morning glory, blossom, and fill it with diamonds. After their initial onslaught, the enemy, seeing no movement from the two, sent men forward to investigate, ready to capture them. That's when the enormous morning glory bloomed. Suddenly, a diamond shot out from the flower, striking an enemy with brutal force. Then, one after another, diamonds erupted like machine gun fire, sending the enemy scattering in pain, leaving large welts on their heads. As Joan Lu and Sister Sa celebrated, a blinding laser beam lanced out from the enemy side. In the next instant, the laser pierced the morning glory. The beam then struck the diamond shield. The laser, it turned out, was the special ability of Rocket, the leader of the Z-Tattooed group, allowing him to fire penetrating red beams from his eyes. Seeing this, Sister Sa cautioned Joan Lu, in these life-or-death situations, you have to learn to stay calm and look for a way out. Pulling Joan Lu into an embrace, she said, don't worry. Just then, Joan Lu remembered he could contact Ben Ruan for help through his micro-earpiece. Meanwhile, Ben Ruan was determined to further ingratiate himself with Hei Wu. He had prepared a plate of Hei Wu's favorite spicy turkey noodles and was about to deliver them. In Hei Wu's office, a man stood naked before him. The man was a doctor under Hei Wu's command. Desperate to escape punishment from the disciplinary squad, he was willing to offer his own body, hoping to gain temporary safety through experimentation. I've already taken the company's newly developed potion, he explained. My body is now perfectly suited for the experiment. He then placed his hand on Hei Wu's shoulder. Hei Wu flung the man's hand off him. Nonsense, he roared. Do you take me for Zhuoma? The man insisted it was all the company's arrangement. Hei Wu, unable to refuse, watched as the man reached for his belt. Ben Ruan, arriving with Hei Wu's turkey noodles, witnessed this scene. His muscular frame tensed and he turned and fled. Hei Wu immediately gave chase. Before leaving, he turned back to the doctor. If you value your life, he warned, don't ever appear before me again. I decide who my test subjects are. As Ben Ruan ran, a disturbing thought gnawed at him. Could that man be Hei Wu's lover? Just then, he received a frantic distress signal from Joan Lu. Ben Ruan couldn't allow anything to happen to him. His revenge plan depended on it. He sprinted towards company headquarters, his lunchbox tumbling to the ground in his haste. Hei Wu, still in pursuit, watched Ben Ruan disappear in the distance. He knew Ben Ruan must have misunderstood. His eyes fell on the discarded turkey noodles. Opening the container, the truth dawned on him. Ben Ruan had brought him lunch. A voice called his name. He turned to see 3 doctors in white coats, each holding a different dish, offering them to him. Hei Wu knew they were all there for the Breaking Walls initiative. I don't care for these, he said coldly. Leave. But the doctors remained rooted to the spot. Hei Wu snap. Get out, he snarled, before I drain you dry. The terrified doctors scattered. Alone again, Hei Wu looked at the lunchbox in his hand. His mind was made up. Ben Ruan, and only Ben Ruan would bear his child. Ben Ruan had sent the distress signal. Unbeknownst to him, a figure lurked in the ventilation shaft above, a member of the disciplinary squad, keeping him under surveillance, planning to continue their watch around his residence that night. Elsewhere, Joan Liu and Sister Sa's diamond shield had been breached, a gaping hole now marring its surface. As a sniper took aim through the hole, a sudden scream pierced the air. The sniper rifle clattered to the ground. One by one, members of the Z organization collapsed. Their rescuers, Dao Tong and Ami, had joined the fight. A woman effortlessly caught a bullet between her fingers. It was Tong of the Catgirl group. Her ability was splitting pupils. When her pupils divided, the world around her slowed. The more they split, the slower everything became. With a flick of her wrist, she launched the captured bullet straight through her opponent's chest. He crumpled to the ground, blood blooming across his shirt. Another attacker, heavily built, turned to flee. He didn't get far. Sister Sa blocked his path. She was ready to make them pay for the ambush. Desperate to save his own life, the man blurted out his secret. They had been framed by the Protector Company. They weren't the villains they were made out to be. He'd seen it with his own eyes. Protector Company operatives, disguised as members of his organization, slaughtering innocents. Their goal, to eradicate his group. Sister Sa, unconvinced, prepared to strike. Joan Liu stopped her. There was something to the man's story, he argued. Framing and manipulation were the Protector Company's specialties. What proof do you have that those people were from our company? Sister Sa demanded. The man explained he had seen a group wearing masks with Z tattoos on their bodies. Later, they discovered these individuals belonged to a clandestine branch of the Protector Company. Just as he was about to reveal the organization's name, a bullet ripped through his back. Tong had silenced him. Joan Liu turned to Sister Sa. "Do you believe him?" he asked. "I only believe what I see with my own eyes," she replied. Joan Liu now understood. Sister Sa had likely been tricked into joining the company. The ones who truly killed Sister Sa's family were probably members of the Protector Company itself. Meanwhile, Rocket, seeing the tide turning against him, prepared to escape. A helicopter slowly lifted off from the rooftop. Seeing this, Ami, astride her giant Black Panther, gave chase. But by the time she reached the roof, it was already too late. Tong pulled out her custom-made rifle. She fired a special ability-infused bullet. The helicopter was struck instantly. The next moment, thick black smoke billowed out. Tong and Ami rushed towards the crash site. Sister Sa told Joan Liu to stay behind and handle the aftermath. She and her sister would continue the fight. Joan Liu pleaded with Sister Sa. "Can you please not go? I don't want you to leave." Sister Sa comforted Joan Liu, saying, "Wait for me here. I'll be all right." Joan ne watched Sister Sa's departing figure. She replayed the captured enemy's words in her mind. The Protector Company had once impersonated their organization, committing heinous acts. She believed that those who had harmed Sister Sa were also within the company. She had to uncover the truth for Sister Sa. She then contacted Ben Ruan through her micro earpiece. At that moment, Ben Ruan was trying on the new clothes He Zhe Wu had bought him. But there was someone clinging to his window, watching him. The sun. "You're flowing tears,"